I've missed you. I've missed you, Zoom lady.
Welcome to the Gig Stories podcast with me, Alex, and him, Chris. And I'm laughing because we're just about to start. And he's put, "Oh, I missed you." And I was about to say, "Oh, I missed you too." And then he finished his sentence, "Zoom woman."
Zoom lady. Zoom lady. Yeah.
Zoom lady. He was on about the blooming woman's voice on Zoom when you start recording. And I honestly thought you...
Recording in progress.
I honestly thought you were saying you miss me. And I was about to go, "Oh, I miss you too."
Well, yeah, it goes without saying. But
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back. For now, at least. It's been a long time, and life has been busy, but also doing a podcast every fortnight has been a lot of work, and thankfully, Chris and I have had work to do, and we will be coming back more regularly. We're having just a little break now. I'm heading off to Cornwall with the family this week, and as soon as we're back, we have got some interviews lined up. So, regular listeners, we're back. Chris, are you with us?
I'm absolutely with us.
Look at that. But we haven't just been working hard, have we? We have been playing as well. Come on.
Do you know what? We did? Do you remember what we did?
I know. No, I've broken down in a car since then.
No, but we'll hear about that in a minute. We went to Kendal Calling.
Yeah, we did.
My first ever time. So how many times have you been to Kendal Calling?
11
million.
11,000 million times. And it's the first Kendal Calling I've ever been to
with
where the weather. Yeah, with you. But where the weather was good.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it rained in the nights.
Yeah.
But during the day, it was fine. I mean, we had to wear our wellies all weekend. But let me tell you, for Kendal Calling, that is brilliant. It was really nice weather, nice warm. And yeah, I mean, one of us was working and the other one was taking photographs. So it was...
and I managed to get some audio footage of you working as well. You were grafting at the coal face.
that's a bit worrying, that, because ladies and gents, there isn't a mine at Kendal Calling, but there is a kids field with a big top.
Absolutely.
And where there's a family field and a big top, there's Winters singing the banana song. Oh yeah.
Have a little listen. Here he is, just doing what he does best.
The friendly one.
So I'm at Kendal Calling in the kids' field, kids calling, and Mr. Alex Winters is doing his stuff in the little big top. Can you hear him?
Are you ready? Now, first thing we need to do...
CBeebies legend.
Big salsa. Go on, move over there, cross over there. But remember your team.
He works hard. He's just working this crowd. They're like putty in his hands.
Right, are you all ready?
Everyone's ready. Who are you trying to kid, Alex? Everyone is ready.
Go! Come on, all of them! Right, now back in your bin.
All the soft play balls are... The balls from the ball pool are out. It's chaos. It's anarchy.
Stand it up there. They've got to go in there, okay? If they're not in, they don't count, okay? That's it. Put them right
Honestly,
in there.
utter carnage in the little big top.
How did they get over there? What's happening? What's going to be in here? Now what? I can't believe it. What's going to be? What are you doing? Ready? Put them in. Put them in there. What? I can't believe it. Come on.
Oh, mate, look, you working your head off.
I don't know what's worse, me or the fact that you were recording that.
Yeah. I thought I would. I just thought I've never seen Alex work before.
Let me tell you, the ball pit game, the banana game, the air guitar, the dance off,
the wig game. What was the
Oh, the What's It Wig game.
What's It Wig game? That's a
That's,
cracker.
that's one of my favorites, that.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's one of the daftest games. And as I've got these two big burly rugby players, as they were, both with shower caps, shaving foam on, and with their kids throwing what's-its at them, that is the express moment that Ben, one of the owners and originators of Kendal Calling, decides to walk into the tent with his wife and child.
Oh, really? Oh, brilliant.
And I'm like,
Oh,
Yep.
God. Of all
Yep.
the times.
this is what I'm doing.
Brilliant. This,
Do you know what? We had a lovely time in the family field, and genuinely, we had to laugh with the kids. And I had one of the best moments at a festival I've ever had, because on the one day, halfway through, all the electrics went down. Just didn't have a PA, nothing. So what we ended up doing, don't ask how we got there. I made some quip about let's sing a song. Any suggestions? To which the first response was happy birthday.
that's a great response.
So we did sing happy birthday, and we found a kid called George whose birthday was the next day, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But what happened was since 2009, since I've been on CBeebies, or when I started CBeebies, I'm no longer on it. I've done festivals almost yearly, and I've been at every shopping centre doing daft shows, all kinds of things, right? And this is one of my favourite moments of the past 12 years. I saw very early on that the audience, that these kids, there was a lot of enthusiastic kids that were enjoying singing, dancing. So all the power goes down, and I'm like, well, let's just have a sing along. We don't know how long this is going to be. I can see the tech guy, Dan, who was absolutely wonderful, looking at me going, this is going to be a while, because one of the Jennies has gone down, one of the generators. So me joking, saying, let's have a sing along, boom, happy birthday was the first suggestion. But then they all kept coming out with these hilarious suggestions. And I looked out, and I was there going, oh man, this is going to be funny. So I said, right, we're going to have an unplugged. So I unplugged the microphone, held this microphone, and said, right, who's coming up on the stage and I'm going to sing a song? And the first kid ran up. I gave him the mic. Not attached to anything, but they loved holding a real mic, right? And this kid, he was the first kid up. He was called William. I gave him the mic and made everyone, give him an applause and cheer for him. Go on, William, go for it. And he just holds the mic, puts his hand in the air. Shot through the heart, you're too big, darling, you give love. And he was like 8. And he sang Bon Jovi. I was dying. It's one of the best things I've ever seen. The parents in the tent were loving it. And all he did was just repeat the chorus a few times.
That's all that's needed, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He left the stage as though he had just conquered the pyramid stage at Glastonbury.
Did he actually drop the mic? Did he drop the mic in a proper Obama?
No, do you know what? He would have, but I had to catch his flipping mic. It was an expensive one.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't going to pay for that.
No.
And then all of a sudden, that was it. Can I? We must have been there for 20, 30 minutes, right? Which doesn't sound a long time. But,
yeah.
You just sit there asking kids if they want to come up and sing essentially 2 verses. And it was the best time I've ever had. And I was about to finish and go, well, I've got to hand over to the next act, because we'd already gone over time, because I'm letting every kid in that field wanted to sing something.
Yeah.
And they're going, Alex. And there's this girl who's 3 who sneaked up onto the stage and sort of stood out of earshot. And she's the cutest little thing. And her fingers are in her mouth, and she's really, really shy. And I said, oh, sorry, sweetheart. Do you want to sing? And she just nodded her head. And I was thinking, oh, this could be tricky. I said, do you want to hold the mic? She nodded her head. I gave her the mic. And she just went, twinkle, twinkle, little star. Sang the whole song. And at the end, literally, the tent went crazy. She couldn't tell me a name. She couldn't say yes. She just nodded, and then she just whispers out, "Twinkle, twinkle," and had the biggest smile at the end as she walked back to her mum's. I just needed those kids at Kendal Calling and power not to work.
No, well, I have to say that we were actually. I mean, I know you were working your head off, really, weren't you? Working your ass off. But we were also. I was photographing.
Yeah, you were.
I was. Yeah, but I was
shooting
only there.
all kinds of bands and artists.
But I was only there Thursday and Friday, so I missed out on the Saturday and Sunday. But I did see some amazing stuff. But
what were your highlights?
Highlights. Well, apart from our guest today, Cribs in Tim Peaks was so it was a secret surprise performance there.
Tim Peaks, by the way, it's at a deer park in Kendal Calling. It's a deer park, and Tim Peaks, which is Tim Burgess's little venue, is actually the Deer Lodge, and so you struggle to get 100 people in there. It's super intimate, and year after year they have secret sets that are just amazing. The Libertines have done it, and it was the Cribs, and you got in. I had to sort of listen and watch through the kitchen window. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Well, they were letting photographers in, so I had my pass, and but I still had to get down the front, so that was pretty mad, trying to kind of dislocate my limbs so that I could squeeze in and not.
You got some good shots though.
I didn't want to annoy anyone. That's the other thing. Is in those kinds of where there's no pit, you kind of have to be really. Some photographers will just sharpen their elbows and get down the front and get the shot and all that kind of stuff. But if you do that, you kind of, once it's done, then you're still there with the people that you've annoyed. And I just, it's not me.
And there's no stage in Tim Peaks. So the bands are set up in the corner and you're just all on the same level. So it's like a cafe.
Yeah.
And there's just one barrier or a couple of barriers at the front. But you got some great shots of them, and in fairness to them, they came and played five songs maybe, and just whacked out 5 belting singles. The track list is brilliant. Look at Tim Burgess' Twitter page, and you'll find pictures from it.
But also, I spoke to Gabe just afterwards. Well, you can hear
Gabe, your son.
Yeah, Gabe, my son. Well, you can hear it now. This was his reaction.
So we're at Tim Peaks Diner, and there's an impromptu secret performance by the Cribs. It's absolutely going off. I've just photographed in there, and it's just crazy. Gabe's here with me. What do you reckon to that? How'd you enjoy that?
It was great. It was very hectic, but it was very nice. It was great. I loved it.
Bit sweaty. It was a bit sweaty in there.
Yeah, very hot. Very.
Are you a fan of the Cribs now?
Yeah, they're amazing. I love them. They're great. They're great.
A new fan. I don't know where Alex is. I think he might be in. He might be in there. I don't know. I think I would need to dislocate several bones in my body in order to get back into that, because it was so busy. Anyway, the Cribs.
So Cribs have a new fan.
I love it. I love that. And I had a chat to myself and us listening now in the car, and I touch upon how really the festival changed for me, and how it was just great watching my kids just love live music and love the bands they want to see. And I think, for oldies like you and I, we still go to gigs ourselves and see bands we want to see, but it's so lovely seeing our offspring enjoy live music, isn't it? It's just brilliant.
Okay, so it's Saturday night, Kendal Calling. Headliners, the Stereophonics. We've just had the Wombats, and the Wombats have come back around again and are huge with teenagers. My 16-year-old is obsessed with them, and what a show. But what is just weird to me now, having watched the Stereophonics from the very, very beginning, and in fact I saw their very first gig after they were signed, and it was in Cardiff, promoted by John Rostron, who now works with From the Field to run Kendal Calling. And hearing the Stereophonics play 1,000 Trees is just immediately nostalgic, and I feel like I'm back in the Cardiff University Great Hall, or the Terminal, which was a tiny venue upstairs. I haven't seen them for many years, and you know, they've gone from a three-piece with Stuart Cable, rest in peace Stuart, to now, you know, a five-piece, six-piece, and it's just feels so strange hearing such an old song live, and thinking, you know, that soundtrack to my pre-university years, and it just still sounds as wonderful as ever, and that's just what live music does to you, doesn't it? Immediately takes you to a place, whether it's years ago or maybe just weeks ago, or you know, whatever, and also emotionally it takes you to an emotional place as well, and it's just amazing. So let's hear it for the Stereophonics.
Okay, so I'm sat in my car, which is parked next to our tent backstage at Kendal Calling. Kids are now back in the tent. It's the early hours, and I've just been thinking about this festival, Kendal Calling, and my experience here. It has, the whole weekend has, outside of my commitments to, you know, the family fields and Tim Peaks, doing family activities, it's musically and things, it's been purely driven by my kids. And do you know what? It's been so joyous. And I've referred to this before, that you know, my experience is different now, because it's not purely selfish, just me choosing who I want to see and listen to, and it's just a thing of beauty. Watching my children, watching and listening to live music, and specifically as well with acts that they are desperately wanting to see, and is just the most joyous spiritual feeling, and still gives me that same feeling that I've often referred to when I go to gigs, especially when I was younger, a teen and older, going to gigs and feeling that spiritual elation. And I still get that watching my children enjoy music like I used to, and it is just the most amazing thing. And for those of you that have children, or perhaps take nieces or nephews or cousins to live music, I hope that you have that experience too. It's just the most amazing thing. And I did sometimes wonder, will I ever get tired of live music? I don't know, maybe I will as I get older, but at the moment it's like just being reinvigorated again for me, and I'm so excited about it, and what a wonderful weekend it's been.
Oh, that's lovely. Love that.
It's, you know, it's true. And Glastonbury was similar. Now, we've not been with you since Glastonbury, and Glastonbury was the same. Yeah. It is possibly my best Glastonbury ever.
Was that partly because of Paul McCartney, Bruce Springsteen, and Dave Grohl on the same stage?
How excited was I, please?
Yeah.
It was so, yeah, that was so funny. That was Paul McCartney, and I believe I may have mentioned this before on the podcast, but that was particularly touching. It was me and my daughter, and Pete, our mutual friend Pete, who plays drums for Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott.
Oh, Pete Marshall. lovely Pete. Mandolin
He
Pete.
was Mandolin Pete, who hopefully we will have very soon on the podcast.
Definitely.
And there was some of us CBeebies lot as well, all together watching Paul McCartney, but especially for me and my daughter Grace. At my dad's funeral, we carried his coffin out at the end of the service to Let It Be. So when he played that, Grace and I, there were sort of floods of tears, and it was just a beautiful moment. And I was able to just say to her, "Do you know what, Bamper?" That's what my kids called my dad. Bamper would love that we were watching Paul McCartney live. He'd be over the moon, because yes, it was nice to have that moment. And yeah, I bawled. I'm still processing losing my dad, but it was just such a nice experience for us both. So yeah, what a lovely time that was. But yes, very similar to Kendal, Glastonbury for me was following my kids around, what they wanted to see. And so I saw a lot of bands that I wouldn't normally have chosen to see, and it was brilliant. I just had the best time. I don't have to go and see my favorite band all the time or what I want. I mean, that sort of hasn't happened for a while at festivals. I let them try and dictate it, and it's just great. I have so much fun, and it was nice to be with you. Me and Chris were absolute 90s indie kids on the Friday night when Supergrass headlined. And it was great fun, and they just remind us, Supergrass, of what a truly great band they are.
Yeah, and you were saying that
Danny.
Just all three of them. The fact that all three are such masters of their instruments. You got
They
Mick,
absolutely are.
Mick is such a great bassist,
bass player,
and yeah, Danny. Yeah,
Danny is possibly my fantasy band drummer.
Yeah,
in my fantasy band, I think Danny Goffey is very likely going to be my drummer. He is incredible. He always was back in the day, and he still is now. And Supergrass, people often just think of All Right, which is a belting tune, and then that's it. But you hear their set, and from start to finish, every song is brilliant. And they sound, I know they're a 4-piece now, but they just sound incredible. And so
I've had She's So Loose in my head for the last
brilliant.
Since they played it. But yeah, I was going to say the other bands that I saw, I missed Alfie Templeman, and I did want to see him, but
he's brilliant. I just love him.
I was faff. I went from pillar to post trying to get my photo accreditation, and it took forever.
But your Gabe was with me and my kids, and it was great. We all had a bit of a dance and enjoyed Alfie Templeman.
That was good. But Red Rum Club were great. Real kind of so I'd never heard them before, but also looking at them, they had this kind of 80s vibe going on. There was a bit of Aztec camera about them. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I mean, certainly he's got a bit of Roddy Frame about him.
Totally. And you put that sort of South American trumpet that they have.
Yeah.
Is it Joe Blow or Joe Blow? And they're so unique. I don't understand why Red Rum Club aren't better known. They should be as big as Blossoms are.
Yeah. And there was a kid in front of us on the dad's shoulders, and the kid must have been 4, 5. And there's a tune towards the end of their set where they were like hand signals, using fingers. They were, doing 2 fingers and then all this kind of. But the kid knew all these different signals that the lead singer was doing, and I got a couple of photos of that. It was great. But then after them there was Sundara Karma, who just knock out, and then who was after them?
Hacienda Classical.
It was Hacienda who finished the night, and that was full.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
Having Mel Williams, is it? Come and actually sing "There Ain't No Love and There Ain't No Use." And you know what was so funny was my daughter Grace, who was cuted out the whole time by the little old fella at the back. Yeah, she was on that Graham Park. And she just couldn't stop. She's going, look at him, Dad, though. He's just having the best time ever. And it was so funny. It was so funny.
Yeah.
And he was. And I was so chuffed for Graham Park. What a great DJ. And what a great night. You know, Bez came on, MC Tunes came on. It was just, it was fantastic. And I know there's a lot of those. I mean, there's 3 or 4 of those orchestras going around. You've got Pete Tong's, you know, classical orchestra. But the Hacienda Orchestra in Graham Park, just brilliant. What a great night, eh? What a great night.
And then next day, there was a lot more on the next day, obviously, because it was the Friday, but we had Trampoline, didn't we? We had Trampoline.
Oh, so you're gonna link us straight in here.
I'm gonna link us straight in, honestly.
Do you know what? Pete Perfides, former guest on the Gig Stories podcast, told me many years ago about this band called Trampolene, these Welsh boys, and he'd been trying to help them out. And ever since then, on Twitter, I used to bang on about them all the time and saw them live, and I just went, oh my gosh, this band are brilliant. And this lead singer, Jack Jones, is something else.
He's like, I mean, it was the first time that I'd met Jack, and it was like, I don't know, you just feel like you've known him forever. He's got
meeting an old friend.
He's got a beautiful, really beautiful spirit.
He really
kind
has.
of really open guy, and just, yeah. Well, you'll hear that in this episode. Now, I must say, so this was live at Kendal Calling. It was outside.
Yes.
It was outside. It was in the trees. It was in the woods. And we were just
and a big thank you to. I'll be honest, I didn't think anyone was going to come.
No,
we had a lot of people come in, and I was just over the moon. I was so surprised.
It was great. So the sound is, it's not the best sound that we've had, but you can tell that we're at a festival. So anyway, have a listen just now to us having a chat with the beautiful soul that is Jack Jones.
Good afternoon, Kendal Calling. How are you? My name is Alex, and I am here with my best buddy from Manchester, Chris. And together we do the Gig Stories podcast. So I'm just going to give it a plug now. Gig Stories podcast.
I thought I was your best mate.
I know, and I haven't got to you yet. My best mate from Manchester.
Typical.
All right.
Typical man.
Come on. Someone chose the other mouthy Welshman to be our guest today. We are so privileged to have from Wales's greatest band, never mind tomorrow night's headliners, forget them. It's Jack Jones from Trampolene, everyone.
Thank you very much for coming out to see me in your droves.
Do those things move? Do you all want to come and sit down here? Because he's a very handsome man.
Oh no, don't. I'm only handsome from this distance.
If you, honestly, because I know what it's like, people feel awkward, that's great. But also, if you can hear us, that's great. But if you want to come and sit down in the sun,
hello, lovely.
Feel free. We got the hardcore fans here.
Yeah.
And then everyone, we've only got half an hour. All of us are going to get up, and we're all going to walk to Tim Peaks. Okay? Because then, when we get to Tim Peaks, Jack is going to tune up, and before Jack and Trampoline play, there's a bit of a gap in the slot, okay?
You're such a tease.
I know.
What a tease.
I'm not allowed to say.
No.
I'm not allowed to say.
It's Harry
He's coming
Styles.
over, and then we're all going to rock out to someone and Trampoline, and then someone else afterwards. We're going to have a great time. So the Gig Stories podcast was born out of lockdown. Surprise, surprise. Chris is a photographer, takes lots of photos and shoots and work at theatres as well as live music. I'm just obsessed with live music, and we just missed going to live gigs, and we started chatting with each other, and we turned it into a podcast, and people just say, it's like a pub chat. And I'm sure all of you here, do all of you remember your very first gig?
Hands up if you do. Hands up if you remember your first gig. We're not going to go around you all.
But
yeah,
some people have like the best first gigs ever. And so it's things like that, you know, real music fan chat. And so we're privileged to have Jack with us today. So we haven't got loads of time, and I want to ask you loads of questions.
Well, fire away, my friend.
So, born and brought up in Swansea?
Swansea boy through and through. Anyone from Swansea here? Didn't think so. Like,
Absolutely not.
mate, it's
Never
so far.
mind.
It took us 8.5 hours to get here, and we came by spaceship, traveling at light speed.
So, very quickly, growing up in your house, what music were you hearing around the house with your parents and family?
Not much actually. It wasn't much of a musical house. My mum had like lots of Bowie records. I remember that, and she loved things like Beautiful South. I know.
Oh, shout out for Beautiful South there.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. You should always shout out Beautiful South. Why not?
I think so. I don't know. It wasn't till I found kind of music myself. I think in a funny way. When I was like 15, I think. 15.
Or was that just the radio, or was it through mates, or?
Well, no, I suppose I wasn't doing very well in school.
Yeah.
In fact, I was expelled from school because I jumped on my art teacher's car after she tried to get me to draw Van Gogh's sunflowers. And I took off all my clothes, jumped in her car and screamed that I wanted to be a woman. And then obviously I got expelled.
Well, could you not have just said it's a bit of performance art,
Yeah, I
and
did-
maybe
I
got a B minus, and then...
When I look back now, I think it's the greatest gig I ever played.
I'll be honest, I think right now that kind of behaviour is
But
encouraged.
what happened was I was obviously, my parents separated when I was younger, and my father and I had kind of a disjointed relationship at this time in our lives. And one Christmas, there was a present from my dad, and it was kind of like an oddly shaped triangle, like a weird flat penguin type thing. And there was a little note on it. It said, "I heard school isn't going so well. Maybe it's time to take an alternative career." And I opened it, and it was a guitar. And I think that my friend, who's like much cooler than me, had a guitar as well, and he was kind of getting lots of like cool action with the ladies. So I was like, oh shit, I need to get really good on the guitar as well. But also I think it had something to do with my father and trying to kind of connect with him in some sort of way.
Well, that was pretty monumental then. That was quite a gesture there.
And then
And was that then immediate? You went, right, I'm doing this?
I started playing, and it's funny, as soon as I started playing, I started writing songs straight away.
Really?
Instantly. I completely, pro less.
Do you remember the name of your first song that you wrote? Come on.
You do.
Yes, I do. I think it was called Love Is.
Oh.
And it was like, love is a two-way thing. Love is the life you bring. Love is committed relationships. Love is embarrassing for me. For me. I even remember it.
Let me just write down. Yeah, he paused when he said you remember the name, and then he just sings it all. I'll be honest, I like that. And you'll be able to hear that song live in an hour's time in Tim Peaks. Join us.
The full band.
I'll have to let the boys know.
So what would you say was your first experience of live music? Chris and I, just coincidentally, we have sort of similar upbringings. We were both brought up learning instruments in school. I played the violin, he plays saxophone and everything.
Oh, that was a bit dismissive, wasn't it?
Come on,
saxophone. Wow.
Yeah, because that's really hard. And I was shite for years
Can
on
you
a
play Careless Whisper?
on a violin.
Yeah.
Play Careless Whisper.
Good lad.
Yeah.
I wish we had a saxophone right now.
He's talented. Basically, this one's the talented musician, and I
You're
rubbish.
going to start a band?
Yeah. Well, we have said we'd like to, yeah.
Because you've had the
We'd
Geek
like
Stories
to.
band, the Geek Stories podcast.
Exactly.
To be honest, it's the boys. The boys. So Gabe's my boy.
Hello, Gabe.
He's the guitar.
He plays guitar and my
John.
son plays drums. We just need a lead singer.
Well,
Come on,
yeah,
Jack Jones.
I'm absolutely here.
So we would go to classical concerts and orchestral concerts with our parents and opera and stuff like that. And I know not everyone, had that. And being in Cardiff, my mum would buy like the cheap seats up in the top of St David's Hall. And for a couple of quid, we'd be up in the gods, watching the BBC Philharmonic or Welsh National Opera, whatever. what would you say was your first sort of live music experience then?
Well, I think around that time, about 14, 15, 16, when I started to get into guitars, I started to go to gigs. And they were the first time I even realised there was such a thing as live music.
Yeah.
I'd just been very like pop oriented in my mum. And so the first gig I went to was by a band called Adam Went Home. And they were a big punk band in Swansea.
Okay.
And then like there was like me and like 100 other kids with like their feet on the ceilings, like dripping in each other's. We were having beer bongs, those beer bongs, you remember them? And we were all being sick in each other's socks.
Nice.
And
That's just normal Swansea life.
yeah, that was a Tuesday night as well. Yeah, so I remember that, and so there's a big kind of like subculture of kind of music that wasn't wasn't in the charts or anything, but it was stuff we all loved and stuff we all went.
And Swansea, has a lot of opportunities for live music. And so did anyone out there, is one of their first gigs the Radio 1 Roadshow? I'm showing my age here. I saw the Manic Street Preachers at Barry Island on the Radio 1 Roadshow.
You are kidding.
No, alongside Apache Indian.
Whoa!
Really? That's how old I am. I'm saying that, no offence to some of you out there, but you're definitely at least my age. And I know.
Rude.
I know that you were at a Radio 1 Roadshow somewhere. So, what would you say was your first sort of gig that you were like, I really want to see this band? Because you have that cultural, all our mates are going to see this punk band or whatever in town. But what was the first gig where you went, oh yeah, I don't know.
I'll tell you one thing that I always remember, like one way I was different to my friends in musical taste. I was obsessed with Leonard Cohen.
Okay.
From like a very young age. And
wow.
Because normally that doesn't kick in until you're at least 45.
Yeah, exactly.
50.
Exactly. And I don't even know if my mum knows this, but I told my mum that I was staying with my mates for the weekend, and I knew he was playing in London. And so, I took a car and drove to London. I went to see him in the O2 Arena and then drove back.
That's the most punk thing I've ever heard in my life.
And she doesn't know, so if she's listening, she probably won't have a quite shock.
I'm just going to phone her now.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a mum joke.
Yeah, so it was a good one. But
You saw
so
Leonard
that
Cohen?
blew my mind. I think I was about 16 actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was he? Because I saw him about 20 years ago. And you could hear the songs, but it was quite a difficult listen. It was quite, you have to be in the mood, really.
Yeah, I think so. I think I was just so deeply obsessed with him at the time. I was just on, tender hooks as to everything he said.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
That blew my mind, yeah.
What's highlighted to me is that we speak to many wonderful guests, and so often they have wonderful, cool stories. I saw Michael Jackson in the Arms Park in Cardiff. That was my first gig.
No way.
Anyone else see Michael Jackson as their first gig?
Mine was Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, SECC 1991.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
quite...
Oh yeah. When were you born, Jack?
Like the next year, 92. If I had a time machine and could have.
Oh my God.
No, to you, this is an easy answerable one, but me and him, we found out our geeks, right? So through the 90s and into the noughties, we went to all kinds of gigs. But we both realised by accident, we kept our tickets. Anyone else keep their tickets out there? Yes. Yeah. And we've got scrapbooks, right? And one of us has got a spreadsheet.
No way.
Yeah, this is the levels we're talking about.
Excel spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet. Lockdown spreadsheet. We've all got a lockdown spreadsheet, haven't we?
I'd love to be one of those people.
Honestly, I've talked about this on the pod before. It takes so little time, and it's such a musical journey in your head as you just go.
Yeah, some people do it with books.
Yeah.
And like keep their favourite quotes in there and stuff.
Yeah,
like
but with the gigs, what you can do, if you're like me, is you put them in categories so you can look for them by city or venue or date or year. You can see what was happening in Septembers throughout the decades.
I'm so sorry.
It's great.
So
really great.
Sorry about
I do recommend making a spreadsheet of all your gigs.
But we have a lot of musicians. Like we interviewed Martin Carr from Boo Radley's, and who's now a Cardiff boy. And he said he collected all his laminates from over the years, and he had some absolute belters when they were supporting like Sugar and the Pixies in America. Just amazing laminates. Have you sort of collected any memorabilia, music memorabilia, anything like that, or is that
I think I lost it all in a 3-year spell where I lost almost everything. But there was some really in our kind of headquarters, which is where Gary and Jane live. Their fridge has got like all, or they kept all the kind of backstage passes
from Trampolene.
Yeah, so it's really sweet. So you can see like, crikey, we did support Liam Gallagher, didn't dream that, or crikey, we did do that show and the Liberty or whatever, So those things, you can kind of get a little history of, like even the Swansea Arena one. So it's like, wow.
In fact, there was a chat earlier on with some promoters just before us here, and John Rostron, who's promoter extraordinaire, mentioned you playing the national anthem at Cardiff Arena when you were supporting Liam Gallagher.
Did you mention that?
Yeah. He took his nephew, and that was the highlight of the gig. Not Liam Gallagher.
Really?
Jack Jones
That's
playing
the
the
highlight
anthem.
of my life too, I think.
I cry. Let's do that. You can hear that as well in Tim Peaks in about an hour. Welsh national anthem.
Yeah.
We're going to crash on with in every podcast episode we do a quick fire round. Because we've got such a kind of short period of time to speak to you, Jack, we're just going to go into the quick fire. First, favourite ever gig, and this can be as a punter or as performer or both.
My favourite ever gig as, crikey, here we go. Well, I just said Swansea Arena when Trampolene headlined Swansea Arena. That's probably my favourite one personally.
Yeah.
My favourite watching gig. Ooh, I don't know. I saw Liam at Nebworth recently, and I loved that.
Yeah.
Because my girlfriend never heard any of Oasis songs, so that was quite sweet.
His voice has sounded great.
Yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Oh, hang on. You found someone in the world that's never heard Oasis songs?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of them, mate.
Did you play a Wonderwall and tell her it was yours?
No, I tried to slide away. In fact, me and Wayne used to do that when we first started the band, because his dad thought we were just so crap, which was true, by the way. But we took like a Red Hot Chili Peppers album and I think Nirvana album, we made a greatest hits, and we played it to him and said this is our new demo. And our demo had Californication, Smells Like Teen Spirit, like a Fade Out, Street Spirit. But it was like the best album ever, and he thought, wow, you boys might make it. And then we went and recorded our demo, and it sounded awful. In fact, it sounded so bad when I recorded my first demo of Trampoline that my mother went round to Wayne's mother's house and apologised for the sound of my voice. She said, I'm so sorry, you will get a singer. And we tried for years to get a singer. Honestly, years.
You will get a singer?
Yeah, she said, you will get a singer. So years and years. There's a guy, he's an actor now, I think called Terence Flynn. I think he's been in he was in EastEnders.
You're brilliant!
He came and did a few gigs with us, and I did a classic thing. I said I wrote this song, and it was, what was it? I think it was another Red Hot Chili Peppers song, Scar Tissue. He said, well, that's a good song, Jack. I said, I know, thank you. So, yeah.
You're a Richard Curtis film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't mind that either.
What's your worst ever gig? And worst is open to interpretation.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, and the worst one we can remember is we played in a place called the Jailhouse in Coventry that doesn't exist anymore. On the way to...
Anyone know that? Jailhouse in Coventry? Say what you want, Jack, say what you want.
That's good.
Knock yourself out.
You don't want to know, but on the way to the gig we were mugged. So this guy, the three of us, absolute kings of poverty at the time, we were walking to the gig, and this kid came up to us and had a knife and he said, give us your money. And we're like, well, we haven't got any money. He said, oh, give us your phone. And we didn't have any phones. I had this Tesco phone, like with a torch on the end of it. And I took it out of my pocket and I said, you can have that if you want. He said, bloody hell, you broke the door anyway, and just walked off. So we were mugged on the way to the gig, and then we played the gig. Right, no one turned up apart from a tramp and his dog, and they didn't like it very much, you know, because the dog was growling halfway through. Somehow there was a guy on the door with a float, you know, who was supposed to give us like our petrol money, and then as we got off stage, he did a runner with his, I don't know, with his missus, I think, or could have been anyone, to be honest. And then we just we had to just find our own way back from Coventry.
Oh mate, this is bleak.
That was great though. I enjoyed it.
Coventry as well.
It's what you call like Batman bondage.
Yeah.
One of the
I'm
things.
going to say that slowly and carefully.
Yeah. Oops. I know, but I'm trying not to swear. I'm trying my best. I don't know if anything noticed.
Yeah.
I mean, I really good. I'm sworn yet, am I?
No, it doesn't matter if you do.
Oh, great. Well,
He
I'm
said
saying
the S-bomb before.
oh my God, living the dream.
He's cool, isn't he?
Super cool.
Look at him. He's handsome, eh?
Yeah, look at him.
Hello, Mr. Guy.
I love you more. I love you 3 and 4.
Now you have your solo gigs, trampoline gigs.
Yeah.
You play with Pete Doherty and bloody national anthems with Liam Gallagher. What's your most unusual gig?
My most unusual gig. I think probably when I know after the horrible the Bataclan disaster, devastation, Pete though was asked to reopen the venue like however many years later maybe, and that was such a surreal experience. That was the most unreal experience, because I think everyone was terrified when they went on stage that something was going to happen again. Everyone was and before I was wearing this shirt before we went on, I was like, I wasn't sure about my shirt, and Peter just said come here, and he ripped my shirt off and then started writing the names of the victims on my chest in this marker. So I walked out on stage to the French national anthem with all the people with names on my chest, and I was crying, everyone in the crowd was crying, and that was probably one of the most kind of emotional experiences I think I've had for that.
And how did you guys get through that gig? I mean, because that must have been from start to finish,
Yeah.
really full on.
No, it was one of those things, and because the French audience is very different to English, they don't jump around going, "Way, here we go." It was very kind of like passive, but it was. We got through it anyway, and it seemed like it was a night to celebrate, you know, music again. You know?
And I suppose it's not the kind of thing that you could ever prepare for, because that's it's such
that was the first time I smoked a cigarette back. I got back on the cigarettes before that gig. I was like, I better have a cigarette. Yeah, this is too much.
Was that one night? Or did you?
It was 2 nights.
It was 2 nights. Yeah. So what was it like? Yeah, I think I read that. So what was the second night then?
The second night was it kind of like cut. It was the suspense had been cut a bit.
Yeah.
So it was a bit better. And then the second night, Pete got some poet to go on stage, I think, or some girl, and she's in like an actress, I think, and she's like, I'll go on and say a poem and do a minute silence, and she said her poem and then did the silence, but she only counted to like 10. So everyone was like, okay, so what happens now? So it was like an awkward moment where like the minute silence didn't happen.
Yeah, who's going to be the one to break the silence?
I think she didn't really know what was going on, to be honest. She was like off the cake. But then anyway, we just came on and just like, okay, that's done, let's begin the show. So that was that.
That's the best way to do it. What a beautiful answer that is. And for any trampoline fans out there, you'll know that that's quite an answer, because for a while, and I was this close, and it was work that stopped me, Trampoline and the boys were playing gigs in fans' houses.
Yes.
And that was like, was that 2018 or something, maybe? And I was this close, and it was work. And I said to my wife, how would you feel if we had Trampoline come and play a gig in the house? And she just went, what, love? Out of all the bizarre things you've ever said to me, you know, along with, can Mr. Tumble come and stay the night? She was like, that's an in-joke for those you know.
I get that one too.
And and she just went, yeah, could we just hide the telly though? I didn't really ask why. I was like, yeah, if you want, yeah, no problem. But no, work took me away, and that never happened. But in fact, I do just want to mention that. Oh, what? Who went? Hey, I tell you what. Let's go and play some gigs in fans' houses.
We had the idea, I think we were just getting fed up with the whole political nature of booking gigs and all that, and the idea came from, there's a young lad who came to see us in Cardiff, Stefan Ward, I remember his name, and his whole family came down and couldn't get into the gig because he was like 16 and it was an 18 plus thing.
Oh yes, that's right.
So we all thought, all right, screw this, let's just go to his house and play a gig for him. So we all went to his house, the whole of Rhondda Valley just appeared at this guy's garage, and we just had a right tear up. I broke my nose on the garage door, and he was like, I gave him my guitar, he was playing all the songs, and then that kind of just, from there, it kind of just sprawled into this kind of tour. So we'd like turn up at people's houses, and it'd be like, instead of like, let's get the amps ready, it's like, let's move the sofas. I remember one house had like a pet, a family of pet rats. They were like, just hanging about the place, like a dog would. There was just rats, and I was like, wow, that's brave, like trained house rats.
And you just had to put some tiny little earmuffs on the rats, just because their ears are quite
So we just did that, and I don't know, it felt like a little moment for us really, because everyone could see that we were a band that actually cared about the people we play for.
And you know what? I think that was genuine for any of you that were aware of that and saw it on social media as it happened. I just thought, this is brilliant. This is the best thing ever. Because so often, bands can just blow up and they're playing big venues, or you don't. You have to travel and see them, or you don't. And for a band just to turn around and say to the fans, right, who's next? We're coming to Manchester. Who's going to let us in to their house to play? I was like, yes.
There's a lot of swinging from the chandeliers. Although I don't
There's no chandeliers in my house.
I don't know if it was a chandelier really. I don't know how you describe it, but luckily it somehow stayed on the wall. But anyway, it was a funny old time that actually, and I'm glad you reminded me of it. I totally forgot.
No, it was great, and it was great. And the gig very soon in Tin Peaks will be very similar. Okay. So
so imagine there will be a lot. Although I can't.
We'll all get up and go to Tin Peaks.
There's a lot less drunk Welshmen here today, though. So we might be all right.
There's one of us.
Yeah, that's true.
Now we are. I can't believe we're running short of time.
We're hurtling.
Take your time. It's all right. No one cares.
No one cares. They will.
Mr. Paul. Oh, hello, lovely. Oh wow, living a dream. Now where's the Mr. Blobby costume? Oh, it's at home. Yeah, oh that's good. Oh, no, I enjoyed it last time. Good banter.
He just does his chitter chat. I like
Sorry.
I like it.
We played you in the house party tent, I think, a few years ago. And
yeah, that's right.
Our mate Paul was in a Mr. Blobby outfit, and I think I was.
You were the Mr. Blobby.
Yeah.
I remember that gig.
Yeah, and I was like, I think all out of my mind, and I was like, wow, Mr. Blobby's at our gig, we've made it. I didn't know what was going on.
Those pictures are still online.
Yeah, I know.
There's some good ones. You should trace them down. So, as a moving on, as a fan of, I like this one. As a fan of live music, who's the one? I think all of us who are big music or live music fans, we have lots of lists who I've seen or
spreadsheets.
Or spreadsheets.
Absolute spreadsheet.
For those of you who missed that, he's got a spreadsheet. Goes back to the 90s.
Everyone's getting in now, and it's warming up.
Who is that one artist that you still really wanna see live that you haven't?
Are we talking dead or alive?
No, both. So first, alive. So they're still possible. So for me, it's AC/DC.
Well,
I've tried many times to see AC/DC, and I haven't because I just never got tickets or didn't have the money. And then for the ones that who I couldn't see because they're no longer with us, Jeff Buckley.
Oh wow, that would be a good one.
And that story comes with, I chose to go and see Radiohead.
Oh, really?
I had my ticket for Jeff Buckley, and it clashed with Radiohead. And I think it was the Benz tour. I think that would be right. And I went and said, "Oh, I'll see Jeff Buckley. I'll pick him up next time." So, Gutted. So who that you could see, who do you still want to see live?
I'd probably love to see Bob Dylan actually, because I got a chance to see. Everyone who sees him says he's either awful or amazing. So
Right, so
I'd hope to go and see an awful one.
every second episode of this podcast, Bob Dylan comes up.
Does he?
And more often than not, it's, oh, that was a stinker.
Right,
that was a shocker. And
Cardiff Arena, right? It's one of the worst gigs I've ever seen. Bob Dylan, Cardiff Arena. This is the stage, so the band are there. The band walk on stage. Now I was working in the box office, and we had complaints about this, right? Bob Dylan had walked on, sort of amongst the band, couldn't see him, sat upstage in the corner, side on, with the piano behind an amp. Everyone's still waiting for him to come on because the bands are there ready. They start playing. And you can hear Bob Dylan going, and everyone's going, what? He did a 2-hour set like that. And everyone's going, where is he? And he did his usual singing words to different tunes. Computer never. Well, I have never seen. We shut the box office because people come in asking for money back, and when they were, so you paid to see Bob Dylan.
Well, I saw him at the arena in Manchester, the MEN, and the only song that I recognised, and even then it was because he introduced it, was "Lay Lady Lay," and but it was just
So funny.
Oh my
Has
God!
anyone seen
Man.
Dylan here? Has anyone seen a good Dylan gig?
You've seen good Dylan,
And
right.
has anyone seen also then bad Dylan? It's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, good Dylan, bad Dylan.
And you have no clue. 96
That was good
Hyde
Dylan.
Park.
And
I wasn't born
when
then.
was bad
Wasn't
Dylan?
born then.
Have you seen bad Dylan? You're the one.
Bad Dylan.
Right.
And they've seen bad Dylan.
He's earned the right, Annie. He's earned the right to be bad.
He's earned the
I
right.
actually think that gig sounds brilliant. Like he sounds like he just sounds so funny to me. As a musician, I can just, I could imagine like Peter doing something similar to that, or just absolutely, and then just get walking off and laughing his head off. You know what I mean? It's just like pure comedy, isn't it?
But he's not charging 75 quid for a ticket. So, who would you have loved to have seen that you can't because they're no longer with us?
Maybe Nirvana.
Yeah, I
can see a sticking block.
I have my ticket. Did anyone have a ticket for that tour? Because bless him, if he'd have held off for 15 days, and you can check that, I'd have seen him in Cardiff.
No way.
They were playing the
Sold
ice
as well,
rink, and
didn't
then
he?
he got moved from the ice rink to the arena. And it was 15 days.
Oh my
But
God.
it cost £15.50, and I was working in Deadman's restaurant in Cardiff, and I got my money back. So people were like, oh, did you keep the ticket? And I was like, no way. No way, because I was a teenager. I was like, £15.50? That's another big gig, or 2 small gigs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Nirvana.
Oh,
Did anyone see Nirvana?
What about the Clash? I'd love to see Joe
there's
Strummer
one.
in his prime.
There's a guess
Did you,
there.
who? Did you see the Clash? You saw Nirvana. Where did you see them? The Reading
92.
Ah, man.
That's something special. Yeah.
Love you.
Trying to think who else. I mean, there's millions, isn't it?
Joe Strummer, I saw at Glastonbury when he decided to play Clash songs, which was probably the last couple of years of his life, because he never, when it was him and the Mescaleros, he just played his own stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was really lucky that he played, it might have even been his last Glastonbury, and he played some Clash stuff, and I thought, that's as close as I'm going to get.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing to see that too.
Who should we go and see? Who might we not have heard of, or who needs to get a bit of a bump?
Ooh.
Apart from Trampoline at Tin Peaks next, where we're all going to get up.
I'm sure you'll all be there.
Okay. We're all
In
gonna
your
get up.
droves, unfortunately. Right. Anyway.
Who'd you love live? That recommendation that we need to all check out.
My good mate El Ray. All go and watch El Ray. He's a Northern Irish lad based in Manchester who writes really fun, catchy songs about going out and getting absolutely off his nut.
Okay, El Ray.
Yeah, I know. There's a few manclot here that I know who know their stuff. El Ray? Right, we need to find. Okay, El Ray. We're on it. El Ray.
Yeah. And that's about it. Really, I can't think of anything else.
No, that's fine. I mean, basically, we're going to have to go to our last question, I think.
Yeah, we always ask our guests the same last question, which is a live recommendation. And it started as a live album recommendation, but then it turned into just a live recommendation. Because I think it might have been Chris Hawkins, Six Music, who said, oh, well, I've got a famous YouTube. And we must have all seen this, because it is one of the greatest bits of just live footage. It's Prince walking on to play with Jeff Lynne, George Harrison's son. Have you seen it? On Tom Petty.
Yeah.
And they're all there playing.
While my guitar gently weeps.
Prince wanders on with guitar, noodles the hell out of it
Destroys
in a hilarious fashion. But if you watch the one version that is the one that we've all seen, does it all, it's just blowing away, and all the old men are just stood with their acoustic guitars going, this guy's on a different planet. And then he just throws his guitar in the air and it disappears.
Just vanishes.
I caught it!
Give it back. And I searched everywhere on the internet, right, because it was being filmed live. But what we couldn't see is, as it was televised, is literally just from the side, a roadie just grabbed the top of it like that. It is the best bit of footage because he just goes,
wow,
and walks off, and the guitar doesn't come back down, and it is just brilliant. And Chris Hawkins recommended that.
I had a moment like that once. Not quite as epic. I didn't have Jeff Lynne or George Harrison there. I had Wayne Thomas and Kyle Williams, but I managed to balance my guitar on his head.
On his head?
Yeah, no, on his own. So what didn't have a stand, it didn't have anything. I just like put it down.
Oh, the guitar!
And it was just staying in the same spot by like some sort of magic gravity, and I was going like that, and then everyone in the crowd was doing this, and it just stayed there, and everyone was like, what the hell?
Was it like a full moon or something?
I don't know, it was just the weirdest thing ever. Like, we're all just mesmerised by it, just standing up on its own. It's like, what the hell?
Wow. So what's your recommendation then? What should we check out on YouTube, or a live track on an album, or a live album itself?
Oh, well, live album. Oh, I don't know. I suppose, I don't know if anyone's into a bit of Pink Floyd, yeah, maybe. But Comfortably Numb live to me on that Pulse record, isn't it? I was called. It does blow me away.
Yeah.
But recommendation.
I like that. No, that.
You like that one?
That could, yeah.
Having that.
Yeah, a bit of Floyd. I mean, he's just guitar solos and all that aren't really kind of in anymore, are they? But unfortunately for me, I mean,
it's all about the sax solos now.
Everyone wonders why our first album did 7 million, copies.
It's amazing.
So I'd go for that as a moment, or as a live album for sure.
I like that. We'll listen to that.
Just the solo. You can skip the beginning part of the song. Just listen to the epic 8-minute guitar solo if you got a spare.
In history, it's like the Welsh have tried, with James Dean Bradfield, or go back to Badfinger. It's like,
I'm not sure what year it was. Oh,
He was at that gig!
You're joking.
Oh. Yes, he was
That
at that
is
gig!
insane. No way! See, I knew it. I could feel the senses.
that's the best thing that's happened, isn't it?
I could feel
This
those
is what the
senses.
Gig Stories podcast does. It brings people together.
Yeah.
Bringing people together.
It's such a great idea, yeah. I'm just trying to think if I got any more gig stories. Actual gig
Go on.
stories.
Do you know? Right. I'm looking at Jane here. We've got a few minutes.
What
Okay. You've got a few minutes. You've had some. So we're not asking you the question. You're just going to offer up an anecdote for us, and then we're all going to cheer, say thank you, and we're all going to get up, and we're all going to go to Tim Peaks and rock out.
We are, apparently.
Yeah.
But I actually can't remember any now.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen.
I know, I just got too many, and then they kind of flooded.
Which one are you going to tell your grandkids, or that's going to be in your autobiography?
Probably just playing the local kind of bunkhouse in Swansea. Just selling out the local place in Swansea. That's the biggest deal.
Your first sellout must be just, no matter how big the capacity, it must be amazing.
Yeah, because I thought at that moment in my life that I was done.
Yeah.
I could just, that was it, that's all I wanted. Well, I didn't even want that, and then I had that. And it was the same day actually that happened, that I got asked to be Peter's guitarist. Because we went out after the gig and we were
And that's
celebrating.
Pete Doherty, by the way. For those of you who don't know, Jack plays with Pete Doherty as well. Is it Puta Madre? How do you pronounce it?
I say the Puta Madres.
Puta Madres.
But yeah, we played this show and went out and it was a bit of a heavy night, and then we woke up and like 2 missed calls from his manager. It was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I called him back and he said, "Jack, how are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm good, thanks, good." He said, "Well, Pete wants you to be his new guitarist. Pack some pants and socks in a bag, so I booked you on a flight to Buenos Aires at 7 o'clock. And he gave me a list of 23 songs I had to learn on the plane.
To Argentina.
Yeah, I learned them, and I got to the gig, and Pete said, "Yeah, we're not playing any of those songs." and he said the trick. Oh shit! Sorry, mate. I just covered you in water.
Don't worry.
The trick to the trick is the first trick in rock and roll he taught me is like, oh, if you don't know how to play the song, jump in the crowd. So I was thinking that all very well, because after the first song he looked at me and I looked at him and I was like, we both didn't know it. So we were both in the crowd. So like you spent an hour just surfing around the crowd trying to figure out what was going on.
Do you know what? Being the coolest rock and roller does not mean you have to play your instruments.
Exactly.
The best compliment I could ever pay you is that, you know, you could look as good as Richie Edwards from the Manics, who half the time was never even plugged in. and they were some of my greatest gigs.
Oh wow.
So I'm alright with that.
I'll take that every day.
And this is random, but only because I've just seen them a couple of times in the past many months. But if you haven't seen the Libertines play, they are on fire, and it is so nice seeing Pete how he is now.
Yeah.
And they still sound better. They are so good, and it fills me with joy. And my daughter's went, "He looks really good, doesn't he?" And I said, yeah, he really does. And it's just so happy. So if you haven't seen Pete and the Libertines, honestly, get and see them. I don't think they've been better, but I'm sure there's people out there who saw them in the early days and will disagree.
In the living room.
Yeah, in the living room. Yeah, in the living room.
Yeah.
They did. Right, we've got to bring this to an end. We could chat all day. Let's have a huge round of applause
Mr. Jack
for
Jones.
Mr. Jack Jones.
You can't all be here to see me, you just stumbled here, I'm sure.
And if you haven't listened to us before, Gig Stories Podcast, if you follow us on Twitter at Gig Stories Pod, we're the same on Instagram, and you can go to gigstoriespodcast.com for more of the same. There's about 38 episodes. This will be our 39th, and it'll be out probably next week.
Oh, wow.
Look at all of them, that's not even all of them.
Look at all those bad boys.
Yeah.
So we're just going to put our stuff down, and we're going to get up, and we're going to rock over
Thank
there.
you so much for listening, everyone. I know it's
Thank you, Jack Jones.
Thank you.
See you in a bit.
Jack Jones, what a beautiful man. And I've been wanting him to come on the podcast for ages. So as soon as the wonderful people at Kendal Calling said, yeah, come and do a live episode with us, I was like, Trampoline are playing, at last we can get Jack. And it was great then to encourage everyone to get up with us, go to Tim Peake's Diner and watch Trampoline.
They were
Just
amazing.
Tear the place up.
And they had some
brilliant.
issues at the start, sound issues, and obviously Jack is not just guitarist and singer; he's a poet. Oh my god!
Mhm.
And so he did some of his work before the band got up and running, and it was just knockout. It was just knockout. Loved it.
And it was so good, and so good again. Thank you, Jack Jones.
Thank you, Jack Jones.
You're a beautiful man. If you can catch Trampoline at all, please go and see Trampoline. Also, Jack plays with Pete Doherty when he does his solo stuff. And follow them on social media and get listening to their albums and their music on Spotify. And if you happen to be there and you're listening, thanks for coming along and listening. Speaking of which, thank you lot listening right now for your support over the past year or so. We really do appreciate it. And we will be back with more regular interviews very, very soon. And we might even come back with new haircuts.
Oh, you never know.
A new tan, perhaps.
There's a limit to what you can do with yours, though, isn't there? Really?
Well, yeah, I'll just be back with an even redder forehead.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
But you can find us on all the social medias: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Gig Stories Pod, and we've got some really exciting guests coming up. So
we've got some belters.
You'll want to tune in.
And also, I've put up some images from Kendal Calling that I photographed right there of Trampolene and the Cribs and Supergrass and various other bands that I caught there.
Tom Grennan,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you got him. You got some great shots.
Ray David.
Here
we go.
Was just joyous. I loved him.
Joyful.
Absolutely loved him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So get and have a look. At Chris's photographs.
And if this is your first episode, go and listen to some others because we've got about 38 others. So crack on.
Exactly.
Anyway,
knock yourself out.
We'll see you next time.
See you. Bye.